Hi, I was browsing the internet and came across this article called Ancestor Deficit Disorder. It was really very eye opening. I think you're going to be interested in this. Stay tuned. Hi, it's Laura Giles, founder of Pan Society, and I wanted to share with you some ideas from this guy named Steve Crandall that I ran across on the internet, and he was talking about this thing called Ancestor Deficit Disorder. Now, right away, you kind of can get the idea that we suffer from not having contact with our ancestors, and that's exactly what it was about. So I think that is one of the deepest reasons why we have all the problems that we have in modern society, or what we call first world problems. Do you remember when you were a little kid? If you're old enough, you remember when hospitals used to be little teeny tiny things. And now the size of one wing is bigger than a hospital was when I was born. The entire hospital. It's crazy. So people are sick, wouldn't you say? We're living longer, but we're living longer with disease. And the mental health industry is insane. Just in the time that I've been practicing, the chronicity is crazy. People are a lot sicker. They're not getting better. They're on so many medications, and they have multiple symptoms that really defy explanation because they're not really this, they're not really that, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and they're just not getting better. And one of the reasons I think that is, or maybe the primary reason, is because of ancestor deficit disorder. So for me, what that means is that we don't have a connection with the people who came before us. We don't have a connection with the original ancestors, which are the elements, and everything in between. So we don't have an identity. How can you have sovereignty when you don't know who you are? How can you move about the world in a safe way when you're not really connected to anything? It's really easy to destroy the environment when it's a thing, not a living creature, or made up of many living creatures. It's very easy to just say, oh, throw my body in a hole, you don't need to have a service, and not tend to the dead if you don't have a connection to those people, or if you don't think about your life after death. There's a whole lot of things that go into this whole ancestor thing, because we're not just our parents, we're not just our grandparents, we're thousands of generations of people. We belong to the plants, we belong to the animals, we belong to the sky, the planets, the stars, the oceans. All of this is us, and we're all of that. So when I'm talking about ancestor deficit disorder, it's a disconnect with nature, with all of creation. And the reason why we do this, so let's go back to the people. So narrow it down just to the people, okay? So our people come from all different kinds of places, and we have these different wounds. When they're not well tended, then people die with these wounds inside of them. Now I'm speaking from my own experience. So in my work, I do a lot of past life regression, which may or may not be past lives. It could end up being ancestral work. But, when people think, oh, I've got something, I don't know what's going on, let's try past life regression, we see what comes up. Most often it is a past life. Sometimes it's a present life. Sometimes it's an ancestor wound. And we get these stories of, what happened to me? What happened to me in a past life? What happened to my people? Where did all of this originate? And when we die with unresolved stuff, it doesn't just go away. It stays within us, and we have to resolve it when we come back. And there's this thing now, I guess it started coming up about in the 80s. Bruce Lipton is one of the people who kind of popularized this, and it's called epigenetics. Now, this is a science thing. We do have proof for this. And one of the examples is if mom is anxious when she's pregnant, baby is predisposed to anxiety as well. And all of these genes that are related to disease are more likely to turn on and manifest as disease because of that anxiety. So that's just one example. Now imagine if you or your ancestors went through the Holocaust, or the potato famine, or the transatlantic voyage on a slave ship, or all of these tragedies, or even smaller ones. You went through, your ancestors went through priest abuse in the Catholic Church, or they went through just going through a addiction family, and that is passed down. Abuse is passed down. All of these things are passed down, and that's why. It's because we don't heal those wounds. We don't tend our dead. We don't die well. All of that is a part of ancestor reverence. And the Christians even have a commandment for this. It's honor thy mother and thy father. So important they made a commandment. Now, why do you think that is? It's for the same reasons the Asians do it. With the ancestor veneration, and the Native Americans and the Australian Aborigines. It's because they know the importance of nurturing that line, feeding that line. It's like a tree with roots. Anything with strong roots is going to be able to withstand the storms. And our ancestors form part of those roots. So if you'd like to hear more about that, ask me your questions. It's a whole lot easier to talk about animism and what it means when I have a question, because so much of this is just invisible. Culture is invisible, and you don't really notice it, your own culture, until something pops up and you're like, oh, yeah, that's different. And then you can talk about the differences. So ask me, ask Sherry. We're both from animistic cultures. We'd love to clarify things for you. You just need to know what you need to know. So send us your questions. Ciao.